Hey, beautiful people. How are we doing? I am Anitra and storyteller, producer, educator, and content creator. He is Dr. Andre Evans.
What up, people?
Father, theologian, pastor, author, the brother I never wanted, the person that gets on my nerves most of the time, all the above. We are Savage Siblings, and this is Savage Siblings Podcast, where we are brutally honest, relentlessly transparent, and unapologetically authentic. So glad you guys are with us for another episode. Bro, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing well. I just kind of getting ready for this particular episode. I was recently in New York City, came back, talking with my best friend. Shout out to Pastor Herman Theodore Jackson Jr. I was talking to
full
him.
Name.
His full government name.
Government.
He and I have known each other for quite some time, and one of the craziest conversations we have, being in the industry we're in, is getting people to, or recognizing when people are struggling to reconcile their relationship with God. And it's so funny. Because we're so matter of fact, we're so theologically based when it comes to seeing people in that regard, until it comes to women in our lives. And so, yeah, so we were talking recently about the women God has blessed us with, and how with others, it's like, well, they need Jesus. That's why, that's how they're going to get better. But with the women in our lives, it's like, we give them a pass.
Right.
It's kind of like, they do need Jesus, but they need us more. And so since they need us,
it's going to be all right.
It's going to be, I can handle that little bit, that little nuance, that idiosyncratic nature. I can handle that, the thing that we might, shout out scriptures against and everybody else. When it comes to a woman,
start slanging oil and rebuking.
Right. To others, we'll, don't cast your pearls before swine. Don't waste your time. But when it comes to a woman, boy, it'd be like, hey, God, she be all right. Grace. Mercy. We forget all about the words. So this week has been a week of laughing at, just how we give a pass to people that have things they bring to a relationship that make it a little bit more difficult to deal with. And that pass usually is connected to a flesh desire, can usually connect to something you want out of somebody.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So that has been...
listen, even our children.
Get very lenient. You be in the store looking at a kid act the hell up. And you look at the parent, and the parent will just look at it like, it's okay, though. It's okay. And I'm saying, like, no, it's not. If you stop looking, I'm going to slap the kid. Or I'm going to I'm going to drop this can of pork beanie weenies on this kid's head. And it's going to be a change in their personality real quick. So, yeah, definitely with our kids. Definitely with those, like I said, who we just have a particular connection with for whatever reason.
Sure.
We give folk a pass on things in their behaviors or their relationship skills that need to be changed. Absolutely. What's been going on with you?
The power of the pass. It's so funny. What you just mentioned it's been hitting me individually, like on a personal level.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but I love knowledge. I love to read. I love absorbing information. Both of us work in so many different capacities. And so this week I was about to purchase, I think it was another book, but it had like the companion online class, and it was related to like business development, something along the lines.
Sure.
And it's almost like the Holy Spirit was like, really?
Okay. Right.
Like, really?
Yeah.
And I stopped and thought, bro, I started going through all of the books
Right.
online courses,
Right.
pamphlets, packets
All
of
that.
things that I have purchased like over. And I was like, well, let me just see what I have. I ended up with a stack of like 7 hardback books.
Right.
With all of the digital companions to the online classes for all these things. And it was like, the Lord was like, why don't you start there?
Right.
Before you spend another penny with your hoarding spirit. Right.
You got $1 million worth of product and you try to buy something else.
And you ain't applied none of it. You ain't read none of it.
None
so
of it.
I have been fighting a hoarding spirit. And even like you said, give a pass because I'm like, but it's all knowledge. It's self-development. It's professional development. It's like, how about you sit yourself down and read one?
How about you start to develop before you need more development?
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, Lord is getting on me. So yeah, I was giving myself a pass to purchase more stuff that I don't need. I need to read and apply. So now I have a plan for how I'm going to work my way through all that content. So that hoarding spirit, I fended it off. I was like, get back.
No, I mean, and that really does go into the fact that, you know, we not only do we give others a pass, but we do give ourselves a pass in our own relationship issues. Even when they're in a relationship with ourselves, we give ourselves a pass. This is the way I've always been, right?
That's how I always do it.
This is how I'm all right, yeah. But it's not. It's not a pass. It's a detriment to being able to develop further or develop more deeply in the relationships that we have with others when we're too busy giving ourselves an okay. And we should not be. So yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And that kind of leads right into our sound off.
Sound off segment. Sound off.
Yep.
For this episode in which we're entitling "Somebody Has to Step Up," and we're kind of looking at relationships and their brokenness, their mending, and again, as you always say, we're looking at it from this sibling perspective. Because there really is some value in growing up in a situation where you learn how to relate to people because you're with this individual who you have to relate with every single day, whether you like it or not. And they do test your social skills, your relationship skills, your all of that stuff. But one of the things that came out to my mind when we were kind of producing and thinking about this episode was this moment when, as a father with my middle daughter, Corinne, so Daniela, oldest, she's very, very, very talkative. I, of course, didn't get the time with her as much as I got with Corinne, right? So with Corinne, I just remember she was maybe 4 or 5. And I mean, you know, Corinne can talk from sun up to sundown. I mean, she can just go. And I remember there was this one point where it was her and I and Corinne's mother there, and she was talking. And she was asking her mother all these questions. And then her mother says, well, why don't you ask your dad questions? And she says, well, Dad doesn't really talk to me. He doesn't really talk. You know, he doesn't really say much. And it sunk in that moment when I realized what she was actually saying to me is the relationship that we had developed was such where she at a young age had gotten used to the fact that I do a lot of listening, but I don't do a lot of sharing. I don't do a lot of communicating. I don't do a lot of connecting. And so when it came to those moments where she wanted more knowledge, she wasn't coming to me because Dad doesn't talk. Dad doesn't talk to me. And man, I'm telling you, realizing the impact, the effect, the need, the necessity for communication and relationship probably hit me the hardest right then at that very moment. And there was a gap, or I'll even say there was something that was broken in my relationship with Corinne because I wasn't doing my part to communicate, to share. I wasn't doing my part to give. And the thing about it is I'm approaching Corinne as an adult. She's approaching me as a child, right? And there's a key part of relationships where you can't approach people where you are. You have to meet people where they are and share where they are, connect where they are. And it's got to go both ways. And then that's how the depth of the relationship matures, how it
Mm-hmm.
deepens, how it develops, how it grows a bond. I think so many times we meet people where we are and expect them to be where we are.
We are. Yep.
And as a result, there's always going to be a gap in the ability to have a deep and loving, tight, bound together relationship because we're not meeting people where they are. And so when we're looking at just relationships in general, it's kind of that first thought, which is, how do you know when there's a gap? How do you know when there's an issue within a relationship? How does a broken relationship or a relationship that's got a void, how does it feel? Because if we don't tap into how people feel, then we really miss the mark on being able to develop or be able to be a part of a successful or positive part of a relationship. And so, we really have to think about what does brokenness in a relationship feel like? What does a void feel like in relationships? So yeah, that was the initial question or thought I had in mind when in recounting that story.
It's we're going to get into this more in the Savage segment, but even the notion of being aware of how you feel, I think takes effort, takes intentionality, takes sometimes someone revealing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely relate 1,000% with Corinne, and so I want to dig more into that with my experience with our dad as well. But I want to pause for the cause and just shout out our sponsor for the podcast, which is the Savage Siblings Podcast. And again, as we've mentioned, this podcast is all about perspective. We all love to discuss life's issues from the vantage point of respected experts and educated gurus, spiritual leaders, all sorts of intellects in popular industries. And the experts are super important, but we are not experts, right? Just a brother and a sister who love to discuss all facets of life through the lens of the sibling experience. And we do that through a strong foundation of storytelling, and we promise to always be brutally honest, relentlessly transparent, and unapologetically authentic. So again, we're so glad that you're rocking with us and glad that you're supporting.
Absolutely. No other way to be.
With that, it is time to get savage. So somebody has to step up. So my niece, Corinne, I resonate so much with her in sharing that, as you shared that story. Dre, our dad, we love our dad, but he's always continues to be a quiet man.
Isolative,
a man of
recluse.
Few words, right? And happily so.
Right.
And what I love about Dad is he found a way, I believe early in life, to be his authentic self in that.
Right.
Because I'm certain he had plenty of people, his colleagues, certainly his family. Constantly like, why don't you reach out? Why don't you call? And he figured out a way to be grounded in who he is.
Exactly.
Just the way that he is. Here's the thing. I always knew our dad loved me.
Right.
No question.
Right.
Like, you can ask me when I'm 5, you can ask me when I'm 75.
Right.
And the answer will still be the same. I never questioned his love for me.
Right.
But I also never felt connected to him for many, many years. All of, childhood, youth, much into my young adult years.
Yeah.
I understood he was a wonderful provider. And for a while, I felt like, okay, well, that is the focus. Like, it is one of the important things. Fathers certainly should be providers. They should be protectors. They should also give identity, right?
Right.
And so there's these layers that fathers do, but I didn't learn that until I was an adult, probably until I started, became a mother. But I knew my dad was a wonderful provider. So there was already a part of my brain that said, click, okay, dad is a provider. So anything else you feel like you might be missing, anything else you might be comparing when it comes to other dads, don't do that. Because Gene Evans is a provider and you have to be okay for that. Okay with that, brother. But I also remember we talked so much about how hard life was for him that, there was a lot of really awful experiences. Obviously, he lost his own father when he was very young.
Yeah.
He was raised in a very, a poverty situation. So the importance of finances and provision were very important to him.
Sure.
So his focus was always there. And so I always had that mindset of, okay, and not it will be, or it is what it is. We say it is what it is.
Yeah.
What happened with me, because I felt disconnected, was I started saying, it is what it'll be.
It is what it'll be.
So I'm like, what it'll be, because I'm going to make it be whatever you're going to make it be.
Sure.
There wasn't like a nonchalant thing. It was like, well, okay, if you're only going to do this amount, invest this amount, then that's all I'll do.
Right.
And so much of those years, I felt that way. Like, okay, well, he doesn't need a deeper relationship. He doesn't need to talk to me every, month or sometimes most of the year. He's going to send money. I can always call him and reach out. He will always do everything in his power to support.
Right.
But I always felt this disconnection. I always felt like, why would a parent not want to be connected?
Mm-hmm.
Like that literally was the thought that, ran through my mind for so many years. And then, when you see other friends and family members and you see they have a different relationship with their father, you do start looking at that like, me and my dad, we never did that. Or, they're more connected in this way. And so I put it in this kind of safe place that simply suggested this is just how we interact.
Right.
We're not going to talk a lot. He's not going to look for a deeper connection.
Right.
He's going to make sure I'm okay. He's going to always give me advice when he feels it's appropriate. And he's going to, encourage me to go live my life. Mm-hmm. And it did become a place of disappointment for me. There were things that I wanted to discuss that I felt like you do discuss this with your dad, but I never did. Mm-hmm. Because all those years, it was like, we don't have that connection.
Sure.
So fast forward years later, when it's actually time for me to get married. Now, here's the thing, bro. Dad never came to my college graduation. He was at my high school one because obviously that was in Wichita, Kansas. I remember you being there.
Right.
Mom was there.
Right.
And then 3 years later, when I graduated with my master's degree, I remember you being there. Mom was there. But Dad never came. Now, mind you, this is just, again, the disappointment adding on to the fact that we never were able to really talk and dig in deep and have connections. And I didn't feel like I could ask some of those deeper questions. Right. I felt like it had to always be business. So years later, when I was about to get married, and, we'll talk about this probably on another podcast, but it certainly was a quick wedding.
Right.
Some people might call it a shotgun wedding.
Right.
Ralph and I were pregnant with Malachi, and I initially didn't even want a wedding at all. And I want to bring this point up here, too, in terms of disappointment, that in addition to the wedding being, rushed and no real preparation and so many other important life-changing issues at stake, and me not dealing with them well and not emotionally having the capacity to try to figure out all of these life-changing things. You're going to be a mom. Right. You didn't get to plan any of that.
Right.
Now you're going to be a wife, and you were kind of planning on that, but you're not really sure if you're ready. And like all of these life-changing things happening.
Yeah.
And whether or not
all
you even
at once.
At once. And me even just dealing with, I'm a girly girl, but I don't really care about weddings and wedding dresses.
Sure,
I love, dressing up. But if it's going to be a whole 2-week discussion about the colors and which, oh my God, which flowers.
Yeah.
I'm like, give me a film script and some lights. I'm good.
Right.
Wedding planning, the devil, right?
Right.
So all of those emotions are happening, and I'm just not feeling good. And I remember talking with you about it. And this is, of course, we had plenty of conversations, you and I, about just being pregnant. And that's the thing. You and I had these conversations, whether I called you to talk about it, to cry about it, whether you called me to just something that dropped in your spirit.
Right.
And so once it was decided we're going to have this rushed, hurried, quickly planned wedding, you said to me, sis, have you called Dad? And I was like, no. For what? And you're like, okay, but he'll come to the wedding.
Right.
My first thought was, but do I know that?
Right.
In the words of my son, well, yeah, will he?
Right.
Because he hadn't come to graduation.
Sure.
He hadn't come to either one of those.
Right.
We don't talk consistently, maybe once, twice a year, check in. And usually I initiate that.
Yeah.
And with all this other chaos and just, I won't even say chaos, but just the stress of the shift in my life.
Yeah.
To be honest, it looked like another disappointment.
Sure.
And I was already dealing with how I felt about the fact that I was pregnant before I was ready to be pregnant, how I felt about the shakiness and the unstable state of what was about to be a marriage, how I felt about finances, how I felt about my readiness.
Yeah.
All of those were disappointments. And so when you would say, Nikki, did you call Dad? I'm like, I'm hearing in my mind, did I call another disappointment?
Yeah.
I'm hearing in my mind, am I inviting another disappointment? You're asking me, you see these 27 million disappointments right here in the middle of my life, and you want me to add 27 million to one. That's what we do. That's what we talk about.
Yeah.
And I love your diligence. You would just periodically check in. Does he talk to Dad? Does Dad know?
Mm-hmm.
And it got to a point where I finally had to kind of finalize some things. So I called you and I said, bro, will you walk me down the aisle? And you said, I will, but I think Dad would too.
Right.
So I left it alone. As soon as you told me you will, I was done with it. I was like, good, check off my list.
Right.
It was not even trying to deal with that. And I want to say maybe a day or two later, I get a call from our dad at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And I wake up and he's on the other end of the phone and he's like, hey, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
And to this day, bro, I don't know. My assumption was you were the one. I don't know who called him. I don't know who asked. I don't know who told him.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that someone said, hey, Nikki's getting married. And he didn't even know I was pregnant. He knew nothing.
Right.
Because I had not shared 1 ounce of information.
Right.
But he called me at 4 a.m. and said, I will be there. And let me just say this, and then I want to ask you a specific question about that interaction. So he comes to the wedding. He walks me down the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
You were there. All the other things that happened. He paid for all the food at the reception. He hustled me into drinking a wine cooler because I forgot I was pregnant. So at the reception.
I remember that.
But you remember that?
Yeah.
He stepped up. He gave Ralph money. He just did all those things. And what I've learned about my dad and his love language is that it is a monetary gift. So one way he can express it easily is just to give you money, just to invest in you financially. That makes sense for him.
Right.
It works for him. He likes nice things. And I didn't learn that until much later. But the thing that he did, and it's to this day one of the sweetest moments I've ever had, and I do believe all daughters and fathers should have as many sweet moments as they can, and preferably before they get married.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that they know their worth from one of the first men in their life. And oof, I cry. You guys got to just rock with me. He came to the bathroom just before it was time to walk me down the aisle, and I was dressed and makeup and everything was together.
Yeah.
And he looked in the door at me and he said, "You ready, baby girl?"
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I smiled and he said, "I know you're ready." And he kissed me on my cheek.
Yeah.
And he walked me down the aisle.
Yeah.
And I almost missed out on that.
Right.
Even though I knew my dad loved me, I knew he always had my back, but we didn't have a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurt me that we didn't have a connection, but I also didn't have the capacity, certainly in that moment or any of the years prior, to even understand how to say what my niece so beautifully stated, so clearly stated at a much younger age: Dad doesn't talk to me.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to say, Dad doesn't talk to me. And I didn't have someone there except for my brother in that moment saying, have you talked to Dad?
Yeah.
Understanding that clearly it was something that I didn't know that I needed. I looked up the definition of healing, and healing is defined as the process of making or becoming sound or healthy again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the question that I want to ask to you is, like I said, be clear, I never called Dad. It was either you or Mom, and you can certainly shed light on this right now. But my question is, were you aware that Dad and I needed healing in that moment? And what was your goal in encouraging me to reach out? Could you see that clearly something was broken and this was an opportune moment to try to find some space to heal?
Yeah. Yeah. So I did. I was the one that reached out to Dad. Dad he's just different. There's that season where if you want to get a hold of Dad, you call Andre. Andre's the one that gets Dad to reach out to people.
Absolutely.
I knew you were trying to avoid a perceived disappointment.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I knew Dad would have been disappointed and not being there.
Yep.
There's a difference between him being there for your college graduation versus being there for your wedding.
Absolutely.
And as a father, we see that difference.
Yep.
But then more importantly, as a person on the outside looking in, I see where both people are guarding themselves from disappointment. And the thing about disappointment comes because we can't or we haven't learned how to manage expectation.
That's good. That's good.
What we do is we expect things of others, but we don't realize that others have expectations of us in the same exact relationship. And sometimes
it's one-sided.
We see it one way, but we're individuals connecting together. So we have different communication styles. And you already kind of mentioned Dad's love language. We have we have differences, and we have different ways in which we express love in so many relationships, whether it's father-daughter, brother-sister, husband-wife, are give in to the differences and create destruction. And that's what I saw. So graduating from college, that might not destroy a relationship.
That's good.
Not being at a wedding, full on has the potential of this is severed and it never's coming back. And there's a difference. And so I think on Dad's end, I had to recognize, or I am aware, that he doesn't know how to be a father because he didn't have a father.
Nope.
He also doesn't know how to have a family relationship because he was sent away from his mother before he even graduated from high school to live with a family that was not blood. And now his siblings are not in the same city as him. They're spread out all over the nation. So how do you learn how to have a relationship doing that? You can't. But then on the other end, you've got a daughter who, rightfully so, because you're the daughter, you're not the parent, rightfully so, is trying to figure out, well, what's wrong with me?
That's good.
What's wrong with me? And anytime you're looking at, well, what's wrong with me, then sometimes you miss what really is wrong with you that you're not doing. And so that's why I'm saying, did you reach out to Dad? Because what I'm saying is, Nikki, your fault here is you're not calling Dad. Like, Dad's not dating Ralph. So how would he know that he's proposed?
That anything's happening.
Right, exactly. Dad.
Who's Ralph?
Exactly. So it's like he ain't supposed to just call one day and be like, you getting married. Well, how would he know? Right. You're pregnant. How would he know? How would he know?
And that's exactly what happened. That's why it's not funny.
Right. So it's both parts, and the disappointment's coming because you're not, either one of you are not managing your expectations of each other.
So good.
If I can learn how to manage my expectation of the person I'm in a relationship with, then I become aware. But I shouldn't be becoming aware of them. I become aware of me in that relationship.
Wait, say that again. No, you got to run that one back.
So if I'm managing my expectations, because these are my expectations. If I expect Dad to do this, and this, if I manage my expectation, then I begin to look at the other person and say, wait a minute, Dad hasn't ever had a dad. So why am I expecting him to be perfect as a dad? Dad has never had family relationships. So why am I expecting him? No. And then I start to become aware of, well, what is Dad doing? Dad made sure I never ended up on the street. Dad made sure I saw as much as he could afford of this world. Dad is doing the best he could do. Now, does that mean Dad can't get better? No, that's not what that means. But it means that I got to start being aware of my expectation. And then through my relationship and love towards Dad, I can help him be better. Not that I'm better than him, but I can help him. Because sometimes I say this often, you got to teach people how to love you, how to treat you, how to have a relationship. You got to teach them. They don't know. There is no, like you were talking about buying books earlier. There's no book that says this is how you raise Anitra Lawson.
Anitra Lawson, right? Specifically, that one.
There's no book that teaches you this is how you raise Andre Evans. Right. No, there's going to be a general book, but that general book comes with general problems and general mistakes and general oversight.
That's good. That's good.
But at some point, we have to manage what we expect by being more aware of who we are in the relationship so we can be better for the person we're in a relationship with. That's all I saw was I got a dad who it's going to break his heart if this wedding goes by and he didn't know. I got a dad who's going to break his heart when he finds out he's got a grandson and he didn't know. I've got a sister whose heart is already broken, and because of her expectation of a father is breaking her own heart every single day again.
Yep.
And so there's nobody reaching out. And then when I'm saying to myself, okay, somebody's got to take the initiative. Somebody's got to make the first step, right?
Yep.
To both of you, I'm speaking a language that gets both of you prepared. So for Nikki, I'm saying, did you call dad? Because I know if I say call dad, that ain't finna happen.
Right.
Did
Which
you call
said it several times, right?
and that's the thing, the persistence. Okay, did you call dad? But to dad, I only had to have one conversation, and I knew the conversation I had to have. And I even said to him, it would be I even said to him, you know, Dad, she's a lot like you, so you probably gonna have to call her.
It's so awesome to hear now, because yes, I think we're a lot alike now.
And that's exactly, and he said, all right.
Right, it's quick.
And that was it. That was it.
And he made sure to call at a time when he knew I was available. Because I was like,
absolutely.
4 in the morning?
Absolutely.
Who in the devil?
Absolutely.
You know, something you point out that's so good is, which again, me in my expectations and false expectations, or like focus just on self, is I neglected to remember Dad's willingness, because even if his love language is different, or even if those past hurts bothered me, he never has ever in our entire life been unwilling.
Right.
If there's something he knows that we need, or where he can add value or support or help, all you have to do is ask. So, you know, your wisdom was simply saying, Nikki, if you just talk to him. But like fear, expectations are like, but what if he doesn't?
Right.
And I'm too overwhelmed. I'm gonna add that to what I'm already feeling. And it's, you know, I love this thought of, you know, somebody has to not only initiate the healing, but bro, you actually had to identify it.
Right. And that's
because I can think it's something else.
Yeah.
You know, go ahead.
And see, that's the thing. That's what we do. We have been taught and trained to live by the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? That golden rule is not a great relationship rule, because what the golden rule said, it can be positive, negative. The golden rule is well, no, I'm not going to mend this because I'm just going to be disappointed. So I don't feel like being disappointed. So I'm not going to take the initiative. I'm not going to reach out. I'll only reach out when I know I'm going to get treated the way I want to be treated. I'll do unto this person as you would have them do unto, but that causes problems. The golden rule does not work for relationships. There's a rule that we talk a lot about in counseling or in therapy, and that's called the platinum rule. And the platinum rule says, do unto others as they would have you do unto them.
Oof, that's good.
So the difference is saying, well, what do they need in order for them to feel safe, secure, loved, cared for in this relationship? And sometimes it's just reaching out. Sometimes it's just simply saying, listen, I know we at odds, but I just need you to know I'm still with you. I love you. Yeah. And that's what some people need. And if we could do more of the platinum rule, then it's easy to identify things. You know, it's easy to be able to understand that, you know, how to build the emotional, the healing relationship that we want, simply because you're making yourself available to bring comfort and peace, and that's what the person needs. So the golden rule doesn't put you in their need. The golden rule puts you in your need, and forces people to be in your need. And the problem with that is I can't build an emotional connection when I'm only treating you emotionally the way I want you to treat me.
I want you to treat me. Oh,
I can't build a healing relationship when I'm treating you like I need you to heal me.
It's so.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's so appropriate what you're saying, because even in the case of my wedding, I encouraged and allowed so much additional damage based on what you're saying, because I was so frustrated, disappointed with my circumstance. You know, Uncle Robert was like a surrogate dad for me when I moved here to Cali. He, you know, rest in peace, he's deceased now. But he didn't even talk to me because I was so isolated in this experience, and I really didn't want a wedding, and I was devastated by all of it. I never forget. Now, look, you know, of our two cousins, Byron is clearly the most talkative one, right?
Yes.
Byron didn't call me. June did.
Wow.
And said, I heard you're getting married, and I heard we're not invited.
Wow.
Because I was going through my foolish emotional space, devastated by the situation, and didn't want to deal with any of it. Yeah. And I knew that if June called, because, you know, June was kind of like, Nikki, I love you, whatever. Like, he ain't tripping. But he knew his dad was hurt. Yeah. The man that made sure I was secure when I first moved to California, got me my first cell phone. Yeah. And what you're saying is so appropriate, that when we have these foolish perspectives, and when we aren't willing to take a step back and say, okay, what's really happening here? It's collateral damage. Right. My best friends didn't come because I didn't want to deal with it. Yeah. Our closest relatives. And then when we decided to do this rush thing, and Ralph was devastated, to give him, you know, his fair. He wanted to have a wedding. He wanted it to be something more, but was dealing with me. And so it, you know, when we don't deal with it, when we ignore it, when we put our expectations or the way that we want to be treated on everybody else. All my family was like, we got your back. It doesn't matter. We don't care. Right. We got your back. If you want to have a wedding, let's have a wedding. If you want to wait, let's wait. If you want it to be big, let's build them. Like, let's raise the money and do it. Everybody was 10 toes down for me. And I was the only one who could not see it. Yeah. Because I was blinded by, I need everyone to treat me the way I want to be treated right now, which is isolated. I want everybody to give me space that I don't really need, when you really need people who love you unconditionally to step in with you. That actually reminds me of a Thanksgiving story with Malachi in terms of expectations and you know, just the space that our head takes us to. So you know, Malachi, the neighborhood we live in, we do not have a lot of, you know, young boys his age for him to play with. And even though he's not really an only child, his siblings are substantially older in age. And so he's, you know, pretty much had the only child experience. And this particular Thanksgiving, you could tell the neighbors had family over, cousins, nephews, lots of people over. And I remember Malachi looked out the window because he heard all these little boys outside playing football. And he dashed to the bedroom. He got his shoes. He's like, Mommy, I'm going outside. It wasn't even a request. It was like, this is what's happening. Grown man moves right here. They're playing football. I'm going outside. And I was like, great, go outside and enjoy yourself. And so he was out there playing for, you know, an hour or two. And of course, I go out to check on him, see he's having a great time. He's good. I come back in the house and then check in again about an hour later. And Mally is sitting on the curb. The rest of the boys are still playing. And you know, my son's not the most athletic, so I thought, okay, maybe he got tagged out, or they were like, look, just observe for a while,
he got
just
subbed.
Watch. Get sub. Must play happens in an hour, right? And so he's seated there, and I go over and I say, "You good?" He's like, "Yeah, no, I'm just watching, just, you know, good." And he's kind of just, you know, brushing it off, and the other boys are like, "Yeah, he can play," and I was like, "Okay, well, you guys got it." So I go back in the house, and so. Of course, it starts to get to where it's time to eat and all the boys disperse. So Malachi comes in. Now, this is Thanksgiving, right? This is Thanksgiving. He has not eaten all day. You wait purposely so that you can get this delicious food, right? So it's time to eat. Kai comes in and goes straight to his bedroom. And, you know, we had all the families there, Ralph and everybody's there. So we're all getting plates. And after a moment, I realized Malachi's not out here. And I said, Kai, you going to come eat? He's like, oh, I'm not really hungry. And so
that's a lie.
Like, right. On Thanksgiving, that is always a lie, right?
Right.
And so his dad says, son, you have to eat, come and eat. And so he finally gets up and he comes out. And so we're all just digging in, talking, laughing. And finally I look up and I notice Malachi is dragging his leg like a zombie.
Right.
I want to give him his props too. My son is much more sensitive to emotional pain than physical. Like I've seen him fall off of things, bust things, and he would just kind of look Just all sorts of things. And it takes him a minute to react. And a lot of times he just doesn't cry. He just does the
right.
He just walks it off, right?
Right.
And so I'm looking and he is dragging his foot. And I said, Kai, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. And I said, come here. And so he has his plate in one hand with literally nothing on it, which lets you know he was in a lot of pain because he didn't even get any real food, right?
Right.
And he comes walking like the Walking Dead over to me. And I look at his leg. His ankle is twice the size of his foot. And it is black and blue.
Yeah.
Clearly injured. And thank God, obviously not broken because he wouldn't have been walking. It would have been a different conversation.
Right.
But clearly, there's a major injury happening. And so, of course, we start to put ice on it. And I finally say, son. So when I came outside and you were sitting down, he said, yeah, I just hurt my leg. So that whole time, he kept getting up and playing until he couldn't take the pain. Then he'd sit down and then he'd sit down. But this is what we're talking about in terms of identifying the issue or
identifying the hurt.
Dealing with it.
Or dealing, yes. This
because
is
of his expectation was there's never anybody my age here.
Right.
I never get to play. I'll be doggone if this injury gonna keep me from running this pigskin right now. He put himself through all of this pain and wasn't crying and was definitely not going to tell me. Because had he told me the first time I came out, it was a wrap, like you coming inside. Right. And here's what's crazy that's just directly connected to what we're talking about. It did cost him the next 2 weeks. He couldn't do any PE classes. He was wrapped up and stuck off of it. Now you ask him, he'd be like, it was well worth it. I'd do it again.
Right.
Time. But there's definitely something to be said for when we ignore it. When we don't acknowledge the hurt. And so that's my next question to you is, and we're speaking about relationships, but how do we recognize something's broken in a relationship? What can that look like?
Yeah, as you're telling the story about Malachi, and we're talking about, how do you, not just how you identify the hurt, because see, in that relationship piece, even in that story, you were trying to identify the hurt. Malachi knew what the hurt was, but wasn't dealing with the hurt. So that's some of the destruction and dysfunction in many relationships that are broken in and of themselves. And so on one end, you're looking at, clearly something's going on, but I'm in the dark as to what's going on.
What it is. Yeah.
And so now you've got your own feelings kind of presenting like, I know something's wrong, but I don't know what it is. This other person knows what's wrong, but they're not saying what it is. And so you've got your feelings now that are not being reciprocated. So you've got some brokenness that's saying, I want this to be healed, but I'm not getting the 100. We always say 50-50. No, I'm not getting the 100 all the time. I want to initiate, but I don't know how to initiate. I don't feel the intimate piece of this relationship because I've got someone that's guarding this information kind of behind this like VIP section.
Right.
And the way they're not dealing with it is like the bouncer that's saying, you can't go in here. You can't go in here. You can't go in here. And what happens then many times there is we begin to kind of live out this relationship in the hypothetical, meaning, it's going to get better in this hypothetical future. So now both of us stop talking.
Not true. Right.
Both of us stop relating.
Yeah.
Both of us stop initiating.
Yeah.
And the hypothetical future never comes.
Never comes. Ooh,
the hypothetical future never. So the improvement never comes.
Yeah.
The only thing that happens is the amplification of the reality, which is we're not talking. Yes, we're not communicating. Yeah. Something's going on. I don't know what it is. They're not dealing with it. Something's going on. I do know what it is. I'm not dealing with it.
Yep.
So we just amplify kind of where we are. Then you start to feel unsupported because now we're looking for happiness from the other person. And I'm not getting it from the other person instead of being able to look within ourselves and say, no, I got to bring joy out of this situation. I got to figure out how to work through this situation. Then we start wearing a mask. We start just, acting like everything's okay. And now we've built this habit of how we deal with things when things come between us in a relationship that we don't want to deal with. So we put on the mask. We put on just the facade. Yep. And then we get to that point where we say, well, this is just kind of how we are.
How it is. The domino effect.
And so now, just like my nephew, right, we're walking around, dragging a foot, right, as if nothing's wrong. Let's just come to the table and eat. But I've got an appendage that I can't even use anymore. Right. But let's just come to the table and eat. Right. But you've got elephantitis setting in. Right. But let's just come to the table and eat. You've gone from fair skin to Cameroon black. Just on your ankle. Colored. Just on your ankle. Right. But let's just sit at the table and eat. Oh, your ankle looks like it needs an orthopedic physician 5 hours ago. But let's just come to the table and eat. And it doesn't work. No. And it just doesn't work. When you are aware of the limp in the relationship, deal with the limp until it becomes a swollen member of your body. And now you're out for 3 or 4 weeks and can't do anything.
It's detrimental. Right? Yeah, it's cost you more.
That's exactly what happens. It absolutely costs you more. Absolutely costs you more.
I think there's something to be said, too, for, and I love how you articulated, but really I read it as the courage. It takes courage on either side of the relationship to deal with it, whether you're the one who doesn't know and needs to be persistent and resilient in asking and diligent in asking.
Absolutely.
Or you're the one who is, does have the sprained ankle, who does have the energy and the fear of showing your scars, the fear of saying, hey, this hurts because I don't know how you're going to respond to it. One of I think probably the most angry I've been with our mother was, again, directly connected to, my pregnancy with Malachi and all of the hurt and devastation and disappointment that I had in myself. She shared with us after I had Malachi that she was actually in a similar situation, that she was pregnant with you before she and our dad were married. And they also had what some would call a shotgun wedding or, a rushed wedding as a result. And when I found that out after the fact, and again, this is, what I love we're talking about is the importance of just learning to mature through your emotions and having a space to talk about it so you really can see the fullness of it. But Dre, I was angry. I was angry with her because I kept thinking, had you showed me your scars?
Right.
Had you showed me the exact situation that I found myself in, I probably would have reacted so differently.
Right.
I would have known, oh, okay, this happens and you can come back from this and it's okay. Thank God, there's divine order, and when God blesses children to be here, there's so many other things too. I would have had a broader perspective. Right. Through that transparency. So initially I was literally angry with her. I was angry, like I didn't talk to her, and I didn't talk to her for a while because I was frustrated. I felt like you should have told me that you had been in the same situation that I'm in, because it would have helped me, and it would have helped me to avoid all this collateral damage and really the superficial, frivolous nature of my thoughts, and the error in so many things. You would have given me a safe place to talk about it. But what I learned in talking with her more about it, which is why the communication is so important, was that it was a source of hurt and disappointment from her, because our grandmother had responded very negatively.
Sure.
She had come very strong, very negative, had made her feel very bad, called her names, like all the above, and that's really her story to tell, not mine. But so for her, for our mom, recounting that, like retelling that, was too painful because it had never been resolved.
Right.
There was that she had never dealt with it. So when she found her daughter in the exact same circumstance, her mindset was, let's not talk about it. Let's just make a decision and move forward. Let's just go ahead and have the wedding. Let's not talk
think about it. Think about it. You're asking mom to give you reflective conversation from a broken mirror.
Oof. Yep.
And you can't do that.
Right.
Because she couldn't do that because she
Right.
knew then she could really only deal with fragments.
Right.
She could not deal with a full reflection. She could only deal with fragments. And the fragments were grandma responded this way. And here's another fragment. Shotgun wedding. Here's another fragment.
That's so good.
Pregnant before married. Here's another fragment.
Yep.
The husband or marital situation that's not ideal.
Yep. Teach.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
So she can't reflect on it because she's looking at the brokenness of her mirror.
Absolutely.
And there's no way she can say, "Oh, this looks good, Nikki." This image, even though all these things happen, this image looks good. No, it doesn't. It looks fragmented. I can't even see you.
Right.
I see broken you. And so there's going to be it's going to be hard for her to do it because you're right. It had not been healed. And that actually speaks to why many relationships today don't find healing.
Right.
Because, and I'm going to say something that seems a little bit awkward to what I just said or what the direction we're going, because nobody wants to look at the fragments and say, yeah, you know what? Let's talk about this fragment.
Talk about it.
Let's talk about this fragment. Because here's the thing. Mosaic art is still priceless.
Oh, that's good. It's still beautiful. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Right? Mosaic art is still in the Smithsonian.
Come on now.
So if all I see is broken fragments, but I don't see the beauty that comes with each fragment, then I don't see the value in healing relationships. I don't see the value in healing. I don't see the value in taking the initiative. I don't see the value in transparency. I don't see the value in saying, "Hey, I'm hurting," because that's a fragment. But if I see that the hurt taught me something, the hurt developed me, the hurt matured me. If I see mosaic art, then I can say, "Oh yeah, that's a little crack there, but let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about this crack. It's a beautiful scar.
Right?
See it for what it is.
Absolutely,
it's a beautiful scar." And we learn from scars and we heal from scars, and scars are gentle reminders of how we're better now. We're healed now. And that's how, we can mend relationships. We got to mend them though, right? We got to mend them. And we got to see, I like scars because they tell great stories.
Good. Yep.
And so even in relationships, a relational scar still tells a great story, but it can't tell a story unless all characters in the story come together and end the story, bring the story to a successful ending. And we get to define what that ending is in the relationships we carry, but somebody has got to be aware and deal with the mosaic beauty that comes with the brokenness or the fragments. The awareness is key. Recognition is huge, and it's got to happen.
So
definitely.
Let's say that you recognize it, you're aware, but have no idea what the first steps would be, or even the first step of, whether you're on the side of the injury, you're the one that's hurt, or you're the one who has caused the hurt and you weren't aware, but now you are. How does someone create a plan to move towards healing? What are some practical or tangible things you can do?
Yeah, no, it's one, to understand it's not spontaneous. It is work, right?
Yeah, right.
Rehabilitation is work. Revitalization is work. Everything is work, and that. But the thing about that is when it comes to having a plan to heal, all it is developing. I shouldn't say all it is. A major portion of it is developing just who I am mentally as I grow, emotionally as I grow, and then behaviorally, right? Because a relationship goes two ways. It's 100. It's two people giving 100%. Well, we get to define what that 100% is. My 100% simply is saying, well, you know what? I can't do that anymore, because that worked for me when I was by myself, single, or that worked for me when I was, an individual. Right. But now a relationship requires me to step out of individualism and move into cooperation for the purpose of a more deep unifying love or union with someone.
Right.
So yeah, it's changing the mindset. It's changing the emotions because again, and this is a tough thing for people sometimes to accept, you get to choose how you respond to your emotion.
Absolutely. Ooh, that's good.
You get to choose that.
Oof. Yep.
But if you continue to choose what you've always chosen, and now you're wondering why this relationship isn't mending, well, it's because you're still choosing yourself. You're still choosing what you've always responded to, or how you've always responded. But you're dealing with an entirely different being than yourself. And you're saying, I want to be in a great relationship with this person. It doesn't matter if it's a friendship or a love interest or a parent or a child. It doesn't matter. You got to stop choosing yourself. You got to stop choosing how you have always responded because you're not dealing with just yourself. So you've got to choose how you're going to respond. But because we're talking about healing, you got to cleanse. Yeah. You got to cleanse.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It's one thing, when you grow up and you get hurt and you might just go to the sink and just pour water over the blood where you're bleeding, right? Because that's just, I can handle that. Let someone show up with some hydrogen peroxide. Let someone show up with some rubbing alcohol.
Bro, I ripped my pinky nail off when I was in high school, and I'll make this like super short. I couldn't believe it when I looked at it, the pain, and you could see all the white meat, like it was bad. The nail was gone. It was down to that meat, and it was clearly going to be. And I literally I didn't even rinse it off. I didn't even go to the bathroom and rinse it off. I got a Band-Aid or two and wrapped it on my pinky nail and didn't do anything. I never rinsed it. I didn't put peroxide, nothing. And for like an entire week. And I remember I was cooking in our kitchen, and this is, back in Kansas. And Miss Mac, my godmother and mom came in, and they saw me. I'm cooking with the right hand, and then the left hand, I'm doing the little bougie pinky thing where your pinky fingers
the
up.
England tea set, the England tea stance.
Right?
Yeah.
I've got it up because it has now turned into a throbbing pain for this whole week that I did nothing.
Right.
And my mom looked, she said, "What is wrong with your finger?" The whole finger had turned white. My whole finger from just the tip of because I refused to rinse it. I refused to give it air. I refused to let and it took our mom and Miss Mac, they pinned me down. Because I was like, no, I don't want it. They pinned me down, and they had to put this like major iodine stuff on it, turn my whole finger orange. Because they're like, you about to lose your whole finger. What's wrong with you? But that fear is real, but you have to cleanse. I have to lose more.
See, the thing about, I'm going to tell you, what we do is we try to Band-Aid mend our relationships. And that's just like putting water over the cut. Yeah. All the water does is cleanse the surface so that you can't see blood. Right? Right? But then someone still got to come through, or you got to take the initiative to bring in the hydrogen peroxide or the more cleansing agent. Yep. Because what that does is it cleanses the parts that you can't see.
Yeah.
You can't see. That's what healing has to do. We can't just sit there and put on a show so that people are outside of relationships say, "Oh no, they good," and knowing it ain't good.
They got this.
you gotta cleanse. You gotta get deeper. You have to do the deep work, and you got to do the deep work so that you get rid of all the residue. You got to get rid of all the residual effect of brokenness. That's conversation. That's being honest with your feelings in a way that's in love. Right. Sometimes we get caught up in this. Well, I'm just sharing what I feel, but you done cut them every single way. You took a verbal shotgun to them talking about, I'm just sharing what I feel. See, no.
I'm just talking about what I'm talking about.
Right. No. Healing puts words to the heart of the person you're talking to so that they feel loved. If you can't put words to the heart of the person you're talking to so that they feel loved, you're not healing at all.
No.
You're not. You're not
probably
healing.
Hurting
you're
more,
venting. You're hurting.
Exactly.
You're hurting because you're just venting.
Or delaying.
Venting has never healed. Exactly. And see, and I think this is a thing. People are afraid of the deep work. I remember, oh gosh, it had to be a couple months ago. I woke up one morning and I stubbed my toe on the corner of my couch, right?
Oh, no.
I mean, I stubbed it hard.
Yeah, that's
hard.
I feel it.
And that joker started swelling up, and I put ice on it because that's it's swelling. You put ice on it, right? So it's swole. I put ice on it. So I'm walking around with a limp and all my equilibrium all the way off because all I did was put ice on a severely stubbed toe.
Yep.
Because I'm not finna go to the doctor for this. I'm not finna do the deep work for a pinky toe,
my toe.
Right? Right? It'll be fine. It'll be all right. I went to a massage therapist a couple days after that, and the massage therapist is doing the massage work, and the massage therapist gets to my pinky toe and was like, "What happened here?"
Right.
I said, well, I stubbed my toe on the side of a couch, and I've been icing it 20 minutes, so and she was like,
Tylenol regularly.
she was like, and the fact that it's purple and swollen didn't lead you to believe that ice wasn't gonna work, water wasn't gonna work,
right?
And I was like, well, it's I stubbed my toe many times. It'll be fine if I just ignore the pain and keep walking like I'm okay.
Yep.
And so she said, Andre, your toe is dislocated.
Oh, no.
And she said, I know this because as a massage therapist, I can tell when a bone is out of place. And I said, wait, for real? And she was like, are you still in pain?
You're right.
Well, yeah.
Of course.
Then yes, I'm for real. Like I don't understand. Right, that's the thing. You've gotten used to the pain. It has become a part of your life. Somebody needs to hear what we're saying right now.
Teach.
You've gotten used to the pain in a relationship. And so what she said was, well, wait a second. Do you want me to pop it back into place? I was like, no, I'll just keep icing it. No. Why? Because I feared the healing more, watch this, than the hurt I've gotten used to.
Ooh, teach. My. Oof. So
she said, nah, you done paid for a full body. You about to get this full body. Right. And she said, I'm going to count to 3 and I'm going to pop it. And I was like, okay, 1, pop.
Right. I like the pause. That's sweet.
I laid there for a minute.
Right. Silent tear.
Right. I laid there for a minute and I was like, I'm ready, to get at her for making me force this relocation of a pinky toe, this healing.
Right.
But watch this. What stopped me from getting at her is immediately all the pressure left the joint.
Oof. My. Yep.
I'm hoping y'all hear what I just said.
Yes.
All the pressure left the joint. Immediately, the swelling started going down. It took a while for the discoloration to return to normal.
Sure.
But at least the swelling
and the pressure
immediately left. And the pressure immediately left. And the pain was no longer there.
Yep. Absolutely.
No longer there.
Oof.
See, that's what deep work will do.
Yeah.
We're afraid to do the deep work because, yes, it's going to be some discomfort at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because that pause after she counted 1 and popped me back into place was discomfort. It wasn't further hurt. It wasn't further damage. It was discomfort.
Yeah.
But once I held my tongue, once I didn't say what I wanted to say, and watch this, I started realizing the work she did.
Yeah.
I felt the pressure, Lee. See, that's part of the healing process. When we say somebody's got to step up, we're saying somebody's got to understand. We got to release the pressure. We got to get rid of the tension. We got to get rid of we got to put in the work because we're just perpetuating the pain if we don't.
Yep.
And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable. The pop feels uncomfortable, but you're relocating what you've dislocated. We're putting back into position what's now out of position. And it's it's uncomfortable. Yes, but watch this. If you hold your tongue and not respond the way you want to respond, but realize your job here is to relieve the tension, relieve the pressure, mend the brokenness.
Yeah.
Then you'll find you don't want to say what you wanted to say because the release of pressure, the release of tension feels so much better. The swelling, it goes away.
Right.
And now I can walk and the pain is subsiding. Now I can look and the discoloration, I'm going back to my normal color. And that's what relationships do when you mend them. And so, somebody's got to take that initial step. Somebody's got to step up.
Let me ask you, is it worth getting professional help? Clearly we're talking about familial healing in relationships where, siblings, parents, romantic relationships, whatever the case may be. But particularly for people of color and the Black community, Dre, we grew up, you didn't pay for therapy. You didn't go see a counselor or get additional assistance. And now we all know, mental and emotional wellness is paramount. So speak to when and should we get professional help to come in to really, do the work, to step up to do the work.
And, I'm going to start, and I'm not making light, but I believe everybody should be in therapy. Like,
Absolutely.
Every time I walk out my door, I'm identifying people that need to be in therapy.
100%.
Every time I talk to somebody, I'm like, yeah, you borderline personality disorder.
Right.
You bipolar 1, you bipolar 2 with depressed mixed mood.
Right.
Yeah. You got generalized anxiety disorder. Listen, we are all 20 milligrams a day short of seeing a therapist. Like, we all need to everybody should see a therapist. It's getting rid of the stigma.
Yeah.
That we have to be perfect. That our families have to be perfect.
That's good.
Because Black, Indigenous, people of color, we are always dealing with, no, we ain't finna go tell that white man nothing.
Right.
We ain't go tell them nothing. We don't need to be telling our family problems.
Isn't that the one?
And what? That's
we don't,
right.
We don't put our business in the street.
We don't put our business out there. And what's crazy to me, and that is so insane to me.
And your foot is dislocated.
Right. We'll hurt each other internally. We'll self-destruct as a family.
Wow. Yeah.
Then go get help. We'll self-destruct as a married couple. We'll self-destruct as friends. We'll self-destruct as siblings. We'll self-destruct as parent and children rather than go get help. And the egotistical assumption there is, well, I'm fine. It's the other person.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Or it's, well, I can't be helped. And sadly, that happens. I can't be helped. I'm not worthy of the help.
Oof.
No, everybody needs therapy. Everybody should see a counselor. Everybody should see a psychotherapist. And in every stage of their life.
Yeah.
This life happens so fast that if I don't reconcile what happened to me as a child, I just build off of my hurt as a young adult. If I don't reconcile what happened to me in my 20s, my 30s are just going to grow off of that brokenness. If I don't reconcile what happened to me coming into full adulthood, bills and trying to buy a home, and if I don't reconcile that in my 30s, my 40s are just going to get a little bit more difficult for me. So every season in our life, we need to be absolutely seeing therapy. It limits your ability as a human being to be your best as a human being.
Absolutely.
Your best self. Some people will never know how great they are because they won't sit in front of someone outside of them and say, well, here's the emotional and the mental management that's keeping you capped. Here's the behavioral management that's keeping you capped.
Yeah.
It's not about sharing your family business, because that's not what psychiatrists or psychologists, that's not what it is.
It is.
No, you might be sharing your family business, but they're saying, so now let's look at you in the midst of all that. And how can you be your best self by managing what you feel, what you do, what you think, and even how you manage your relationships in everything that you're going through. So absolutely. And here's the thing I would say. Generation X is probably, in my opinion, and I'd love for those of you listening to see comments, Generation X is probably the last generation that says we don't do psychotherapists. Because parents of Generation X said, stop telling our business.
Right.
But millennials, Gen Z,
oh yeah, they don't play.
They will go talk to a therapist in a hot minute. They get help. They get help.
Yep.
So we could, so those of us who are Generation X and older, we could learn from them. And not be ashamed, not be afraid to say, I need help in this life, because I'm not perfect.
I'm not.
I've got things within me that I need to work on. I need to know how to deal with the way the world is right now. Right? The world, while you're too touchable in this world. And that's the thing. Generation X and older, we weren't as touchable to this world. Right. And since we're not as touchable to this world, we could try to hide where we have been touched emotionally, behaviorally, mentally. We try to hide it. But you can't hide that stuff anymore.
Nope. It's going to spill out. It also speaks to the importance of self-care. Like that's the reason why, sometimes it will take the therapy or the counseling session to point out strategies for self-care, which just might mean, are you taking a proper Sabbath rest? Do you make sure that you go and get your hair done? Why? Because it makes you feel good, right? Are you thinking about the things that make, that bring you joy and making time for them? Are you working too much? Are you getting enough rest? And so, taking the time to reach out for assistance at a professional level, and also just having your family and friends that also are wise counselors. It's so critical, because they're going to help you see the total package and how you can absolutely, just be your best self. And so,
and reach out to yourself, because a lot of the dysfunction in our relationships is because you don't know who you are in response to what you go through. Good. So are you meditating to know who you are? And I'm not talking like some crazy witch doctor. No, you can meditate on a word that you receive from your Bible. You can meditate on a word you receive from your therapist.
Affirmations.
Are you taking affirmations? Are you taking time to meditate so that you know who you are?
That's good.
Because you become better in relationships when you know how you respond to certain triggers in life. You know how to respond to certain instances that remind you of something that hurt you in the past, because that brokenness, that happened in the past, if you don't heal that, you bring that same brokenness into your next relationship. And here's the thing about that. When we're talking about somebody's got to step up and mend some of these relationships, one of the things that we want to understand about ourselves, that we always want to go into healing for ourselves, is because when you heal yourself, and relationships require a constant healing process. You always need to heal, right? When you go into a next relationship, you're going to attract something healthier when you're healed.
Ooh,
because you're going to attract brokenness when you're broken.
When you're broken, because you're putting out an energy. You're putting out something, and it's going to draw.
And so your relationships now, if they're broken, don't you go into another relationship, because you're going to acquire someone who requires you to be broken.
Wow.
And we do that. We acquire people who require us to be broken. But when you're healing in your relationships, and you have healed positive relationships, because you have also a healed relationship with yourself, you wholeness, acquire people that require you to be healed.
That's
and that's what we need. Because listen,
I'm going to come at you here, and this is a great transition, really, or segue.
Transitional perspective. All right.
Transformational perspective. because you just said, if we know misery loves company. If you're putting out broken energy, you're likely to attract broken energy. So there's someone out there, maybe a lot of someone's out there who is saying, okay, Pastor Dre, okay, Dr. Dre, some relationships should stay broken.
Amen.
Some relationships I don't need to step up to heal. Now
Now let's define that. Some relationships need to be severed and stay severed.
Good.
But you as an individual can heal from that severed relationship.
That's good.
Because not every relationship will withstand the test of time or every season you go through, right? Some relationships, those ones that have to be severed, you heal from them. And the way you heal from them, because some relationships are just stepping stones on the path to bettering yourself as an individual.
Wow.
So you got to learn and heal from the mistakes. You got to heal by gaining new perspectives. You got to heal by new experiences. Watch this. When you're whole, because you have healed from a broken relationship that now you've said, you know what? Yeah, that ain't good for me. I gotta detach. I gotta sever, and don't go back. Don't go back to it. Don't look back to it. Don't be calling back talking about, hey, big head. No, cut it off. Cut it off. Because what'll happen is once you show the energy, show the world, show yourself that you healed from a broken relationship, cut it off. It was a stepping stone. You're now a better self. You're now a better individual. You've learned from the mistake. You've gained new perspective.
Yes.
Then the right person will come along and say, I am attracted to this wholesome part of you.
That's so good. So you're still stepping up.
You're still stepping up. You're still stepping up. Because otherwise you're just staying in a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
You're staying in a situation that's more harmful than it is helpful. You're choosing to stay in a situation where there's more blame than there is being a blessing. There's more jealousy and dishonesty. You're staying where there's more denial and gaslighting. You're staying in a situation where you're giving in to everything. You can't be whole. You can't be healed with any of that. And some relationships that are severed that you heal from, it doesn't mean you didn't love, but there are some people in my life right now that I love from a distance. And I'm so okay with that.
Yeah.
And I'm so good with that. I love from a distance. That doesn't mean I have to see you or talk to you every day. It just means that I got love for you while you're over there. But not over here where you can continue to cause me to operate, where I continue to choose also to be in a broken situation. No, I love you. I love you over there. And so kind of like that bottom line here is, as I said before, by definition, relationship means this constant or this consistent healing because you're getting better. Because every relationship is going to have broken moments. There's not going to be a relationship you have that's going to be perfect.
That's good. Broken moments. Ooh.
And that's the thing. If it's a broken moment, we can be better.
Yeah.
But the moment the moment where the moment is no longer a moment, you gotta go. You gotta sever
the trigger happy people that are like, oh, you doing that? I'm out, right? It's like, no, it's just a moment.
It's
Recognize
just a moment.
Recognize something lasting. Yeah.
And here's how you recognize a moment. Do both of you have a commitment to heal?
Oof, good. So good.
Because if both of you have a commitment to heal, then it is just a moment. But if you're the only one, or if they're the only one committed to healing, it ain't gonna work. It's not going to work.
I learned that really from you and my sister-in-law. As you guys, made the decision to divorce, I remember watching over time that joint shared commitment to healing. Initially, certainly for the sake of the girls, for my nieces, but then that spilled over just into being able to have a whole life and a family. I think sometimes when there is brokenness, particularly in marriage, we somehow assume that the family is gone, but no, the family is still intact. It's still there. You just don't live under the same roof. The family is very much still there. It never left because God ordained its family. But then making sure that there's healing, and it helped me and it helped Ralph and I to absolutely heal faster because we had you and Katina as such a wonderful example of saying there's brokenness, but we're going to push through these moments because we're all committed to the healing for the greater good of our family, even though our family may not look like what we hoped, long term.
Right. And look at the expansiveness of that. We are relational beings. That's kind of how we're created, right? So we need relationships, and we need them individually, and we need them as part of a community. So the commitment to healing is bigger than you. It is bigger than who you are currently broken off from. What healing does in these relationships, and this is why we say somebody has to step up, because it provides a sense of belonging, a sense of caring, and a sense of support. And that all, improves health, but not just for you. If me and Katina don't heal, Corinne, Corey, Daniela feel that.
Yep.
And we need them to have confidence in relationships. Doesn't matter if it's marriage. We need them to have confidence in relationships. So it's important to be committed to healing, because it's bigger than you. It always is.
Ooh, that's so good. All right, you ready for the quick shot?
Yeah, quick shot. So we're talking about, someone has to step, but we were talking about broken relationships. So this is not I find this funny, and I want to know from you if just your response to this. But I find this funny, and I find it to be somewhat true. But when it comes to broken relationships, there's this tweet that I read, and out of all the tweets that I could have chosen, this is the one I chose.
Oh, Lord.
Nothing excites women on the internet like divorce and broken relationships. Hashtag I'm next. Hashtag healed and whole relationship. Hashtag marriage on the rise.
Oh my God! If you want to get some traction on your post, yes.
Let me tell you something. When folk found out, when women folk found out I was divorced, boy, my DM cred went up, boy. I mean, I ain't talked to you in about 17 and a half years. What the world? Women, boy.
Oh, and it's so true in terms of just the space. If you want to get some posts and get those numbers up, open up a conversation, a dialogue about brokenness and hurt past relationships. And I totally agree. Women are going to go
divorce and breakup.
About divorce. Listen, women are going to lean in. Let me tell you.
If it had been Tinder, I'd have been swiping left. I'd have been swoped left.
We don't want affirmations or positivity.
No.
We want Springer.
Right.
Jerry all day long. I love it.
All day long.
So when I was thinking about the quick shot, and one thing I always say is, laughter is so therapeutic. Humor is such a great way to find your way through, if you can do it. It's tough. So I always try to find funny moments. And so what I was thinking about, just the difficulty of when there's been brokenness or hurt, and the steps of trying to, start the process of healing.
Sure.
What came to mind were, apologies and the way that we address them. So I figured we could do one or two quick rounds of what I'll call it use it or lose it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first give you examples of apologies. And so then you can tell me if it's one you would use or one you'd be like, nah, I'm not going to ever use that apology. That just is not strategic at all.
Okay.
So here we go. Here's the first one. So rather than just apologizing, you say, you hungry?
Yep. I'm using that. Absolutely. I think that has a more in-depth meaning. That hits a little bit deeper in the deep part of the woman. This depth of the woman. It just does more, and it lasts longer. If I apologize, it's like 2 or 3 seconds. You hungry? Well, that's a good 4 hours of her remembering that I am. Listen.
Oh,
yes,
God.
I'm using that one.
All right. Apology number 2. Rather than just apologizing, you say, I'm sorry, you're so sensitive.
Ooh, no, not to a woman. Lose it. No, lose it. That's a fight.
Maybe if it's your son or something, you might be like, son, I'm sorry, you're so sensitive. But what I did what I did.
Yeah, to my son. Yeah. But no, not even that. No, because that'll come back on me as giving him toxic masculinity.
Right.
Like some Karen's going to come back and be like, how dare you? No, not with
all
this
started
generation
when?
of boys. Right. Not with this generation of boys. Nah, lose it. I ain't saying that one. Lose it.
All right. Rather than just apologizing, you say, this is really a waste of time. Can we just move on?
Ooh, lose it. Lose
Let's
it.
just move on. No? Let's just
Lose
move
it.
on. All right.
No, because there's
Rather-
no moving on. There's
Yeah,
no
you
moving.
gotta
You
deal
gonna deal
with
with it now, or you gonna
But
deal with
you
it
know,
a week
you've heard
or a
people
month?
have been like, let's just move on. Let's not deal with it. They just.
Oh, I've tried that. I've
Okay.
tried that.
Didn't work.
Oh, I've tried that. No, it don't work. It don't work. Lose it. Lose it.
All right. Rather than just apologizing, you say, did you miss me?
No, lose it because I might not like the answer. Hell no, I didn't miss you.
Right?
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, I ain't apologizing then. So no. Mm-mm.
Oh, here's a good one. Rather than just apologizing, you say, just calm down. Calm down.
It depends. Because that
And you should apologize. Just apologize.
Right, no, that depends. That's like adding gas on a fire. Nah.
I don't want to calm down.
Right. Why? What makes you think I ain't calm? Why you don't think I'm calm? Like, nah.
Okay. Rather than just apologizing, you say, look, I'm trying my best.
Yes, use it. If it's the truth. Even if it's not the truth, yes, use it.
You should still say, I'm sorry, and then I'm trying.
Nah, hey, look, I'm trying my best. Men can get away with that. Men can absolutely get away with saying, I'm trying my best, because it's already a given that emotionally we're stunted, mentally we're stunted, relationally we're stunted. So even though I know I should apologize, I could say, I'm trying my best.
Women, we're not falling for it. All right. So in the spirit of equality and keeping things balanced, I want to quickly do to round out this quick shot, the receiving end of the apology. Because sometimes it's not that the person who has, created the offense or fault doesn't want to apologize. It's that you're still trying to determine if you want to accept it. So these are some examples of what you could say when someone apologizes to you. So I'm going to have you start, Burbo. You're going to say, Nikki, I apologize. And I'm going to give you a response. You let me know if you would use it or lose it.
Okay. Nikki,
All right,
I apologize.
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. You get back to yourself. Don't call me. Don't text me.
Apology revoked.
Right. Yeah, I take back my apology. No. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Nikki, I apologize.
Oh, but I don't have the antidote for the poison that you just drank.
What? No. No. Lose it.
That means you're going to die. It's too late.
Right.
I would totally say that. Because you'd be like, wait, what?
Right.
We just had drinks? Yeah.
Which is why I said what? Which is why I just said what? What?
I'm like, bye-bye.
And I literally, I know we're kidding, but I literally looked at my water like, wait a minute. Nah, I'm done with psychopath relationships. No, we good. No.
All right, let's try another one.
All right, Nikki, I apologize.
Oh, I only accept cash apologies.
Oh, no, that's cool. I'm okay with that one. I'm okay with that. I'm going to pay either way.
So I'm
just text me your cash app. We good.
Oh, okay. Let's do maybe 2 or 3 more. Go ahead.
Okay, Nikki, I apologize.
No, you're just afraid to fight me.
See, you know what? Nah. Lose it.
I can totally see our cousin doing that. Don't apologize now. I'm taking these earrings off. I'm taking
right. See,
it's too late.
No. No. Lose that one. Hey,
right.
It ain't worth that. All right. Nikki, I apologize.
It's okay, Andre. Not everyone can be cool.
Oh, yeah, I'm good with that one. My self-esteem and ego too high to be bothered by that one. So, nah. I'm good with that one.
Okay, let's do one last one, then we'll get to the final blow.
All right, Nikki, I apologize.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
Oh, hell no. No. Lose it.
You are Satan.
Lose it. Right. Lose it. I'm not even trying to hear that.
It's not today, Satan.
You doing too much. You're doing too much. Nah, I take back my apologize, and I'm going to send you to Bible study.
Isn't it funny?
You're doing too much.
Isn't it funny how when we're the ones that have to apologize, it's the struggle and we want everyone to be so accepting of how we deliver it. But then when we have to receive it, we're like, that's how you want apologize?
Right.
Or somebody has to say it. You clap back and they're like, aren't you just take my apology? Can't you just accept it?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So we're encouraging you guys to absolutely step up. So Bro, what do you have for the final blow?
So the thing about it is stepping up means that there's something that has to be healed, right? We're talking about healing broken relationships. And I'm so glad we just kind of did this quick shot based on how do you receive it? Because I think a part of mending is receiving when someone is actually trying to heal, right? And we talked a lot about how in that healing process, it's uncomfortable and it can hurt because healing has to start where the hurt resides. But you got to go through it and you got to know, are you healing with the right person or are you perpetuating or is the hurt going to continue? And the way I likened it is to if I've got two men standing in front of me and both of them are seeking to cut me. Both of them are seeking to cut me. And so I know that hurt is coming. But I've got to understand the perspective of the two men that are in front of me as to whether or not I'm in the right situation. So one man that's wielding the knife, he's trying to rob me. So he's going to cut me to take from me. He's going to cut me in order to get what he needs out of me. He's the toxic one. I'm not going to find healing from that. I'm not going to find healing in that situation because that aim is not necessarily to heal me, but to take from me. So do I cut ties and just simply say, you know what? I'll find healing on my own, right? God and I will figure it out. The therapist will figure it out. The other man with the knife, he's a doctor. He's cutting me to heal me.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt, but his job, his aim, his motive is to heal.
Yeah.
So his cut is the discomfort. Yes, we gotta attend to this open wound. We gotta attend to where you are bleeding because we've got to heal, but we've got to do the deep work, which requires me to cut. But when I'm through, you're going to find that I also mend. I'm committed to mending you up so that you could heal. And so for us, when we look at somebody's got to step up and heal and start the mending process, both sides have to be aware. Are we cutting to heal or are we cutting to take? And only those relationships that are going to be mended successfully do both parties understand that, this is going to hurt because it's not comfortable. But in the end, it's going to mend. You're going to heal. There's going to be a scar, but the scar reminds us that you have healed.
Yeah.
And now the relationship is better. So for me, when I'm looking at that kind of final blow, and it's such an apropos word right here, don't be afraid of the discomfort of healing. The worst thing you can do is ignore the gash, ignore the open wound, because then you're going to find yourself right back in another relationship with someone who sees the open wound and the brokenness and comes in to cut you deeper because they're just there to take. So we got to go on to healing. Somebody's got to step up and start the mending process. And that way then we can have healthier, more whole relationships. And remember, healing is bigger than you. It's so much bigger than you. It's big enough to impact and influence those connected to you. So that's my final blow.
So awesome. So that's going to do it for us. We cannot thank you guys enough for rocking with us. Remember, please post any comments and thoughts on all of our platforms. Let us know your thoughts on healing relationships or good and bad apologies or just funny rebuttals, like anything that you want to chime in. We want to hear from you on all of our platforms. And if you have suggestions for future podcast ideas, let us know that as well. Huge
Absolutely.
shout out to Ronnie Maxwell, our music producer for the podcast, Maxwell Music.
Maxwell Music.
Shout out to Dwayne McClendon, our sound editor, post-production supervisor. We could not do this without the both of you. Shout out to our parents, Jean and Dolores Evans. We love you guys to the moon and back. And so we're signing off for Savage Siblings Podcast. And remember, don't go through life alone. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.